Have you ever really thought about the secret life of the stuff you own? I mean, really thought about it? Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on that incredible, hidden journey every single product takes, from just a whisper of an idea to the finished thing you can actually hold in your hands. Let's get into it.
Yeah, just take a second and look around you. Your phone, that coffee mug on your desk, maybe even the car in your driveway. None of it just magically appeared, right? Every single one of those items has a story, a backstory, and you'd be surprised how often it's a story of survival.
Exactly. Think of it like the Hunger Games, but for ideas. For every single product that actually makes it onto a store shelf, there are literally hundreds of other ideas that didn't survive. They were pitched, they were debated, they competed, but in the end, they just didn't make the cut.
And that first brutal stage has a name, the New Idea Gauntlet. It's basically a trial by fire, and it's where most ideas, well, it's where they go to die. Let's take a look at how it works.
You know, in a perfect world, the process looks super neat and tidy, just like this. You do some research, you brainstorm some great ideas, you screen them, you analyze the economics, and poof, you develop the winners. Looks pretty simple and logical, doesn't it?
Well, here's the reality check. This is what's called the New Idea Mortality Curve, and honestly, it's a bloodbath. It shows that if a company starts with, say, 50 or 60 raw ideas, only a tiny fraction of them even make it past the first couple of hurdles. It's a graveyard of good intentions. By the time you get to the end of the process, you're lucky if you have even one viable product left standing. And that brings us to this number. Just let that sink in for a second. Only 1 to 2% of all new ideas ever become successful products. It's an absolutely staggering failure rate. So the next time you pick up something new, remember, you're not just holding a product, you're holding a champion, a survivor. Okay, so our little idea made it through the gauntlet. Phew. But the fight is far from over. Now comes the really hard part, actually designing the thing. And this is all about making some very tough choices.
And the very first big decision you face is this one: standardization or variety. Do you go the Henry Ford route? You can have any color as long as it's black, which is super efficient and cheap. Or do you offer a ton of different options to appeal to more people? It's the ultimate trade-off between keeping costs down and giving customers what they want.
And that's just the beginning. This really shows you what a crazy juggling act it is for designers. They're constantly balancing function against cost, quality against reliability. But you know, the single biggest question, the one that can kill a great idea dead in its tracks, is often the last one on this list. Can we actually, physically, build this thing?
Okay, so let's say we've designed our product, we have the what. The blueprint is done. Now we have to answer the how. How on earth are we going to build it? Well, it turns out there are really only 4 fundamental ways to make anything.
And it all comes down to this simple, but really powerful matrix. Everything depends on the trade-off between 2 things. On one axis, you've got variety. How many different kinds of things are you making? And on the other, you've got volume. How many of them do you need to crank out? The right way to build your product is all about finding that perfect sweet spot between the 2.
So let's break this down. At one extreme, you have the project process. This is for unique one-off things like building a ship. High variety, low volume. Then you've got intermittent processes. This is when you make things in batches, like a set of forklifts. A bit less variety, a bit more volume. Move further along and you hit continuous production. Think a classic assembly line churning out thousands of identical TVs. Now we're in low variety, high volume territory. And finally, you have processing for things like fertilizer, where there's basically no variety and just massive, continuous volume.
So, now we have our product design, and we have these 4 ways to build it. This is the moment where it all comes together. Because the real secret to a successful company isn't just having a great product. It's about creating the perfect partnership between the product and the process used to make it. And here it is. This is the big aha moment. As a product goes through its life cycle and gets more popular, the best, most cost-effective way to build it actually changes. See? You might start out with a really flexible, custom project approach when you're just getting off the ground. But as sales start to grow, maybe you shift to a batch process. And then, if it becomes a huge hit and you're selling millions, the only way that makes sense is a super efficient continuous assembly line. The process has to evolve with the product.
And all of this brings us to the single most important takeaway. The most successful companies in the world understand this quote. They don't try to be everything to everyone. They pick a strategy and then they build their entire system to be laser-focused on that one thing.
You can't have a factory that's amazing at making high-volume, low-cost stuff on Monday and then expect it to switch gears and make custom, one-of-a-kind masterpieces on Tuesday. It just doesn't work.
So, from now on, when you see a new product, try asking a different question. Don't just ask, what is it? Instead, ask yourself, how was this thing built? Was it a one-off project? Was it made in a batch? Did it come off an assembly line? Because now you know the answer to that question, well, it tells you everything you need to know about its secret strategy for survival.